Hi everybody, my name is Maddie Chaffinch and I'm currently the Adobe Ambassador at Virginia Tech. So some basic things that I do as ambassador is I host events like these and I raise awareness for the Adobe Creative Cloud around the campus. So I attend some club meetings, I post a lot to social media, and then I host events like these. So this is my workshop for the semester. I will be going over Adobe Lightroom and how to create your own preset, and then I will also be giving you some tips on personal branding. So first of all, this is just some of the things that I'll be going over today. I will be going over the different Lightroom apps, why I use a preset, what is a personal brand, personal branding tips, how to use Adobe products to create your personal brand, some settings to adjust, and how to create a preset on both the mobile app and the desktop app. So this presentation will be about 20 minutes long with some room for questions at the end. But if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. I can't really see anybody right now that I have this pulled up, so it might be better to unmute yourself. I might not see the chat, but I'll try to keep up with it. So first of all, there are 3 Lightroom apps. Some people don't know this, but there is a Lightroom mobile app, which is free, and it is compatible on all devices. So that means as long as it's in the App Store, you can either use it on your phone, your tablet, or whatever else you may have. So it's a great app. I definitely recommend downloading it if you don't have it already. It can make your photos look so much better and make them look very professional, and it still keeps them natural. So it's a lot better than using just an Instagram filter or some other filters that you find on other apps. Lightroom is that desktop app. Lightroom is included in the Creative Cloud subscription, and like I said, is on the desktop, and it is cloud-based, so it does connect to the Lightroom mobile app that you have. So for example, I created a preset in my mobile app, and then I pulled up Lightroom on my desktop, and the preset was still in there. So it's very helpful if you do edit your photos across a couple different devices. Lastly, there's Lightroom Classic, which is a desktop-only app, and this is also included in the Creative Cloud subscription, but it is hard drive-based, not cloud-based, so everything is just on your computer. I don't have that much experience with this one, but I'm pretty sure that it's a little bit more advanced if you need some more advanced settings. But again, I'm not too sure about this one. I'm more familiar with the Lightroom mobile app and regular desktop app, and those are the 2 that we'll be going over today. So why should you use a preset? So a preset gives you a consistent style. This is extremely important, especially if you're running some sort of photography page or website or anything like that. This makes you more recognizable and keeps the aesthetic of whatever page you're running look very nice. So it's very important to keep this consistent style, and I'll go over this a little bit more when I talk about the personal branding side of things, but it does keep your photos very consistent, especially with a specific photo shoot. So the next point, it saves a lot of time. So if you do take a photo shoot, let's say, instead of having to go in and individually editing each photo, you can just make a preset, and then you can just go in and add that preset to every photo that you need. So this is so much faster than going through and editing each photo individually. It also gives you a lot better edits. So like I mentioned before, this isn't just like you're going on Instagram and picking a filter. This is going to give you very natural settings if you do it right, and it's going to make your photos look very professional, and it just looks very nice overall and can really brighten up your photos and make them look a lot better than they do. But lastly, it is versatile. So like I said before, you can just try out as many presets as you need to. So let's say you have a couple different presets and you aren't sure which one you want to use. You can just click through each preset and it'll just show you what it'll look like on that photo, and then from there you'll be able to pick which one you like the best. So it is super convenient if you have a couple of different presets that you want to try out. One tip that I have is don't use the same preset for everything. Just because you find a preset that you really like doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily go well with whatever theme you're going with. So for example, if you're taking photos in the summer of the beach and then you're taking photos in the fall of like some autumn leaves or something, you aren't going to want to use the same preset for both of those. For example, in autumn, I would probably personally want to bring out the orange tones more. In the summer, I'll probably want to have like higher saturation, more blue tones, and just brighter pictures. So one tip from me, if you are running some sort of like photography social media page or something, maybe find a couple presets that you like per season so that it's consistent through the season, but the seasons itself are different from each other. But when you're looking at the page overall, it'll still look nice and it'll still look consistent, but it'll go more with the theme that you're going with for that season. So next I will be talking about personal branding. So a lot of people ask, what is a personal brand? So personal branding is a way of establishing and consistently reinforcing who you are and what you stand for in your career and life, which I found that quote on the Forbes website. So some people think that only like influencers or YouTubers need a personal brand, but personal branding is so important, especially in a professional setting. And a lot of people aren't taught that in their majors, which is kind of disappointing because personal branding can really make or break if you end up getting a job or an internship. So here are some personal branding tips. Number one, stay consistent. So I kind of mentioned this before with the preset, but it goes beyond just through photographs. So whether that be the color scheme of your website, or just a theme in general. So as you see throughout this PowerPoint, I have the same kind of like little icons going on throughout. So it really stays consistent. So you want to do this if you have a website. You want to keep it consistent through your website. And then if you have a resume and business cards, you want to keep those consistent with each other. You want them to match each other. That is so important for personal branding. It'll make you stand out more and they'll be more likely to recognize you. So let's say a recruiter sees your resume and then later on they meet you again and you give them a business card and it matches your resume, then they'll probably recognize it and realize that they've met you before or have interviewed you before. So no matter what you're doing, it's very important that you stay consistent throughout the different things that you are showing to an interviewer. Next, you want to find your audience. So this is very important, especially in a professional setting. So for example, I'm double majoring in both marketing and BIT, and I have different resumes for both of those majors. So for marketing, my resume is a lot more creative because in that major, I'm applying for more creative jobs. So for example, it's more colorful, it has more creative elements to it. I met someone once who worked at a creative marketing firm, and she told me that when she was applying for that job, she made her resume look like a Twitter page. So this really made her stand out, and she knew the audience that she was going for, which were other creatives. On the other hand, with my BIT degree, I am obviously applying to very different jobs for that one, and they aren't as creative. So for that, my resume looks a lot more cleaner. It's just black and white, simple, straightforward, easy to read. So make sure that you know your audience and you define your audience when you are creating whatever you're creating for internships or interviews or whatever you're doing. Next, it's very important to have a focus. So especially in the beginning, you should narrow down whatever you're trying to brand with a few things that you're passionate about. If you have like 500 things you're focusing on, it's going to be a lot harder for someone to place that thing to you. So make sure that you just have a couple things that you're focused on and passionate about, and then people will start to associate those things with you, which will help form your personal brand. Next, it's very important to be genuine. Be your unique self. It is called personal branding for a reason. If you are going out there and copying other people or copying other like people's personal brands that you see, you are not going to stand out. You're just going to be like everybody else. So be genuine to yourself and choose things that actually fit you, that you identify with, and that when you're like creating a resume or anything like that, make sure it's something that you think represents you, whether that be through the colors, the patterns that you have on there, whatever you're doing, make sure it's genuine to yourself. One statistic that I've seen a lot recently is that it takes on average 5 to 7 impressions for people to start recognizing your brand. So if you do keep your things consistent, like your resume, your business card, your website, it'll be a lot easier for someone to recognize you because everything's consistent. And this is very important if you're networking or trying to get somewhere in a job. You want to make good impressions on the people you're talking to. Next, I'm going to be going over how to use Adobe to create your personal brand. Adobe has a lot of great products and programs that you can use to do some of the things I spoke about. These are just a couple, there's even more examples. But number one, you can use InDesign, which is really great for resumes and business cards. And also if you need a poster for whatever reason, InDesign's a great place for that. Illustrator is a lot more for logos, icons, and graphics. So even if you aren't doing a personal brand, but you're maybe like marketing for a product or something, make sure you have a logo. That's very important, and Illustrator is a great place to do this. Next, Adobe XD and Adobe Portfolio are both great apps as well. Adobe XD is a program where you can create interactive website and app prototypes. So I definitely recommend checking this out if you're interested in forming your own app or website. And then our Adobe Portfolio is so important too. Portfolios are becoming a lot more popular, and some people are even having their own websites, even if they aren't like an art student or a photography student. You don't need that for a portfolio. You can have a portfolio for any career that you're trying to get into, and you can just have some sort of website that maybe highlights any work you've done and just highlight specific things about you that really can make you stand out again in an interview or application process. Lastly, Adobe Spark is a fabulous program, and this is not part of the Creative Cloud. It's actually a website that anybody can use. I believe it's free for everybody, and it's so easy to use. And even if you aren't that creative, it has tons of templates that you can use. So Adobe Spark, you can create social posts, logos, and short videos along with a multitude of other things. If you saw the little flyer, like Instagram story thing that I made for this workshop, I created that on Adobe Spark. It was so easy, and I think it turned out pretty nice. So definitely check that out, even if you don't end up getting a Creative Cloud subscription. So some settings to adjust. This is what I will be going over next, and these are just some settings in Lightroom that are pretty helpful if you're trying to make your photo look a certain way. So you should definitely play around with these settings more than any of the other ones. If anything, just at least mess around with these settings when creating a preset. And those settings are exposure, contrast, color temperature, black and white, color boost, and tone tuning. So next I will be going over how to create a preset on the Lightroom mobile app and how to create a preset on the Lightroom desktop app. So these are some screenshots from the mobile app. If you have the app, go ahead and pull it out so you can follow along and kind of see what I'm talking about and ask any questions. If not, you can just look at these screenshots that I took from my own app. So step one, actually, before you even get to this step, you're going to just create the preset that you want. So on the bottom of Lightroom, there are all of these different options and settings that you can play around with. So just kind of go through those, especially the 8 that I mentioned before, and just choose which ones you think go along best with your photo and whatever makes your photo look the best. And then after you get your photo to how you want it to be and you find a preset that you'd like to use on other photos as well, you're going to go up to this little icon at the top, the 3 dots. You're going to click on that. It'll pull up this menu here, and then you're going to go ahead and click on Create Preset. After that, it'll pull you up to this screen right here where you're going to type in a name for your preset. And if you only have like 1 or 2 presets that you're making, the name isn't that important because you'll probably be able to remember what the preset is and you'll probably be able to distinguish between them. But if you do have a lot of presets or plan on creating a lot of presets in the future, or if you are selling your presets, which some people do sell on like Etsy and stuff like that, it's more important to have a name that you can associate with certain photos. So at least what I do is I name mine something that kind of reminds me of the type of photo or the style of photo that I use this preset for. So for example, you'll see in the next slide, what I use today as my example is a photo of the sunset. So I just named my preset Sunset that I created because I know that it'll probably go well with sunsets, any sunset photo that I take, because the settings are already kind of there to enhance the beauty of the sunset. But you can really be creative with this, name it whatever you want. For the most part, if you're not selling it, it's just for you. So anything that's helpful to you when you're editing your photos. Step 3, this is the part where you are going to be applying the preset to other photos. So all you're going to do is select the photo that you want. And then in that same little settings menu in the bottom that I talked about, you're going to just scroll over until you find presets. You're going to click on that. It'll pull up this screen right here. These right here are just some default presets that Adobe gives you. And you can always use these, but the user presets are definitely going to be a lot more personalized to you, obviously, because you create them. So to find the presets you made, you click down here, user presets, and then it'll just pull up whatever presets you have created, and then they will just be called whatever you name them in this step right here. So it's super easy to find and super easy to pull up. So next I will be going over the desktop version of Lightroom. So this is the photo that I edited, and this is the preset that I created. So I had this picture beforehand of some cows with the sunset, and then I used Adobe Lightroom to crop it so it kind of focuses more on the subject of the photo. And I also used it to enhance the sunset. As you can see, it's a lot more brighter in this photo, and I think it does better justice of the photo. One thing that I find whenever I'm taking photos, whether that be on my phone or a professional camera, it never does the photo, or it never does like the scenery actual justice of how beautiful it is. So Lightroom is a really great way to kind of get some of that beauty back that the camera can't capture. Now I will be showing you how to use Lightroom in the desktop app. So this right here is the photo that you just saw with the preset already applied to it. So to get to the preset part, you click this little icon right here, and then it pulls up all of these settings. They're very similar to the settings that are in the app. So you can go through all of these different settings and just adjust them however you like. So for this particular photo and preset that I just created, I boosted the vibrance and the saturation, and I kind of boosted the saturation of the orange color to make the sunset show up more and be brighter and just kind of look better overall. So you can just play around with these as much as you need to until you get to an image that you like and you'd like to use for other photos. And then at that point, you're going to go ahead and save the preset. So it's pretty similar to the app. You click this button right here, which brings you to this page. And then you click these three dots right here and you click create preset, and then you can name it. So I already saved this preset as sunset, but you would just type it in right there and then click save, and then it'll automatically be in there. And then to apply it to another photo, you're just going to pull up another photo. Here's another one from that same day with no filter on it. So to apply the preset that I made, I'm going to click on preset, and then I will scroll down. These are all of the generic presets that are also on the app right here that Lightroom made, and then here are my presets. So side note, the sparkle preset was one I created on the Lightroom app on my phone over the summer, and like I said before, it's connected through the cloud, so it automatically showed up right here. So that was really helpful and very helpful if you're editing on multiple devices. So then you just click on it. So this is the sunset preset I made, and you can see how easily that just applied the preset. It's completely edited, it looks so much better, and it still looks really natural, but obviously the colors are a lot brighter, it just looks a lot better overall. So that's basically how to use Lightroom. Very basic, how to create a preset. So I hope this was helpful. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to open the floor to that, so you can either ask them in the chat or unmute yourself, and I will be happy to answer any of those questions for you.